They came to watch a brief spectacle. By nightfall, America understood it had entered a long war. On the morning of July 21, 1861, well-dressed men and women rode out from Washington with picnic baskets and opera glasses. They climbed the hills above a small stream called Bull Run, spread out their blankets, and waited for the show to begin. Congressmen brought their wives. Journalists brought notebooks. Nobody brought fear. This was supposed to be the one battle that ended the rebellion. It did not turn out that way. 3 months earlier, after Confederate guns opened on Fort Sumter, Abraham Lincoln had called for 75,000 volunteers. He asked them to serve for just 90 days. Read that number again. 90 days. That single detail tells you everything about how this war began, with a government that expected to crush a rebellion before the leaves turned that autumn. By July, northern newspapers were chanting, "On to Richmond." Public opinion demanded action before the Confederate Congress could even convene in its new capital. Lincoln, under enormous political pressure, turned to his general, Irvin McDowell. McDowell protested. His army of 35,000 men was enthusiastic, yes, but they were farmers and clerks in uniform, barely drilled, never tested. Lincoln's reply has echoed through history ever since. "The Confederates are just as green," he said. "It will even out." Political urgency had just overridden military judgment, and the consequences of that decision were about to unfold 25 miles from the capital. McDowell's plan was actually clever. A wide flanking march would cross Bull Run at Sudley Ford and crash into the Confederate left, while a smaller force pinned the center in place. On paper, it was sound. In practice, it was executed by Green officers leading Green men, and the delays gave Confederate commander P.G.T. Beauregard precious time to react. On the morning of the 21st, Union troops under Hunter and Heintzelman finally completed their march and slammed into Confederate positions near Matthews Hill. For a few hours, it looked like exactly the swift, decisive win Washington had been promised. Southern lines buckled. Confederate soldiers fell back in disorder. Then the momentum stopped. Cold. As Union troops pushed forward onto Henry House Hill, they ran straight into a Confederate line that refused to break. At the center of it stood a brigade commanded by Thomas J. Jackson. Confederate General Barnard B., desperately trying to rally his own collapsing men, pointed toward Jackson's position and shouted that he stood there like a stone wall. The name stuck instantly. Stonewall Jackson would carry it for the rest of his career and into legend. B himself never lived to see what those words became. He was killed later that same afternoon. And here is where the battle truly turned. Confederate reinforcements under Joseph E. Johnston had been pouring in from the Shenandoah Valley, not marching, but riding the rails of the Manassas Gap Railroad. It was one of the first times in military history that a railroad decided the outcome of a battle. Fresh troops reached Henry House Hill just as the Union assault was running out of steam, hardened the Confederate line, and set up a counterattack that Union forces were in no condition to withstand. Exhausted from a night march and hours of fighting in brutal summer heat, Union soldiers began to break. What started as an orderly withdrawal through Centerville collapsed into a full-blown rout. And remember those spectators on the hillside with their picnic baskets and their confidence? They were now tangled directly in the chaos. Carriages overturned on narrow roads, congressmen fleeing on foot beside terrified soldiers, wagons and artillery jammed together in a stampede back toward Washington. Newspapers would later call it, almost unbelievably, the picnic battle. The casualty numbers, by the standards of what was coming later in this war, were modest. Roughly 2,900 Union casualties, nearly 2,000 Confederate, almost 5,000 combined. But to a country that had never seen anything like it, this was staggering. The bloodiest single day Americans had yet witnessed on their own soil. The tactical result mattered far less than the psychological one. In the North, the fantasy of a 90-day war died on that hillside. McDowell was relieved of command within days, and Lincoln, barely a week after the defeat, signed legislation calling for 500,000 men, not for 90 days, but for 3 years. That is the fastest, clearest proof you will find that the short war illusion had been shattered for good. In the South, the reaction went the other way, and it was just as dangerous. Victory bred overconfidence. Many Confederates concluded that Southern courage alone had won the day, and that belief discouraged the kind of urgent, disciplined mobilization the Confederacy would desperately need for a long fight. Both sides misread Bull Run. The North underestimated how determined its enemy truly was. The South overestimated how far valor alone could carry it. Bull Run did not decide the Civil War. No single battle would. But it decided something else, something arguably just as important. It ended, permanently, the comfortable idea that this war would be short, clean, or easy. By evening, the smoke drifted low over Henry House Hill. Abandoned wagons sat overturned along the roads to Centerville. The picnic baskets were gone, left behind in the panic, and in their place lay the wreckage of an illusion. At Bull Run, Americans did not merely lose a battle. They lost the comforting lie that the war would be brief. If you want more historically rigorous deep dives into the battles, decisions, and turning points that shaped the Civil War, follow along. There is a great deal more of this story still to tell.